Back in 2011, Brent Darren Zubek was a career bank robber who'd taken over a large home in Chatsworth and was living there with his girlfriend, his teenage son, and 2 roommates. And there was high tension leading up to June 2nd of 2011 when he murdered the 2 roommates, Oleta Williams and John Lee, in front of Amy Harder. She saw John Lee on the floor. She saw Zubek chase Oleta Williams to the room that Williams shared with Lee, and saw Zubek fire the final shots that ended Oleta Williams' life. Amy Harder left the house that night, and having introduced Zubek to her and her family and friends, she was very concerned about the people who were around her, knowing how dangerous now Zubek was. On and off for the next several weeks, she stayed in touch with him, she saw him, she visited the house. When she returned, the house was clean, the scene was cleaned up, both bodies had been removed, and we later learned that Zubek had stuffed them into barrels, moved them to a storage unit, and then ultimately transported them across town and placed them 40 feet from his back door inside a closed utility trailer. Although there was a missing person report and the family was looking high and low, they had no idea that this crime had occurred. Everyone who talked to Brent Zubek had heard that he claimed they had up and moved after having some work come their way. However, Amy Harder decided to come forth, and she disclosed this crime in and around August 2011. The bodies were found at the house, and for the next 2 weeks, Brent Zubek was on the run. The daily news accounts in the San Fernando Valley were filled with reports of high-profile police chases and his escapades and sightings throughout the San Fernando Valley. Ultimately, because she stayed in contact with him at the same time she stayed in contact with police, Amy Harder was instrumental in his capture and arrest. He called her to help him get gas. She came, the police were there, and she actually drove him to a spot where the police surrounded the car. She removed the keys so he couldn't flee, threw them out in front of her, and he fled on foot. After he shot at a pursuing major crimes detective, hours later, Zubek was shot by a SWAT team and brought down on a rooftop in Encino. Again, the striking thing about this case is the fact that we never likely would have known this crime had occurred if it weren't for Amy Harder. She cooperated throughout the investigation and ultimately testified at trial.
What wasn't said was this, that she had dated Zubek for a long time, knowing that he was a bank robber. She chose him. She chose a bank robber to live with. She, in statements after this trial, said that she hated the woman more than anything or any person in the world. She also made statements how she took a pair of pliers and snapped their teeth out of their skulls. She is now with another notorious asshole, Mike Plato, who's a gang member. This is not a picture of a saint. This is a picture of an idiot prosecutor who glamorizes a killer and let this girl get away with murder. Granted, she came forward where nobody else came forward before her, but she came forward because she didn't want to get the electric chair or the death penalty, and no other reason. She took her 45 days to come forward. She knew about the murders. She knew the house was cleaned up because she cleaned it up with Zubek. She helped chop up the bodies. She helped dispose of the bodies. Amy Harder is a notorious gang member killer, and this prosecutor should lose his job for being an idiot and a glamorizer. How anyone could make a video and say that this girl is courageous